Hello, welcome to this newest episode of Generation BTS, the podcast where we review BTS album. But today we're here to talk about August D.
D-Day.
D-Day. Yeah, very exciting. I'm very, very excited. So, I'm Christine. I'm 29 years old and I am coming up to my 2-year anniversary as ARMY, but I'd probably say 20 months? Is that a thing? Yeah,
if
almost
you were
2
a
years.
Newborn baby, yes.
Yeah.
You'd be 20 months.
Yeah. I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm 19 and I have been ARMY for over 6 years.
I'm Leanne. I'm 34 and I've been ARMY about 14 months if we're doing it in baby terms.
Nice. Baby ARMY, baby terms. So yeah, we're here to talk about D-Day, which is very exciting. We're just going to do our normal first reactions episodes. If you've listened to those before, you know what you're in for. But for anyone new, we don't tend to go song by song. We just talk about all the content that was released in the lead up to the album and then just first impressions of the album. But very excitingly, we have also been to the D-Day tour.
That's where this is late, actually.
Yeah.
So normally a reaction episode comes out much closer to the release.
Although the Jimin one was really late too.
Yeah. We do our best, but yes, we went out to New York. Christine did 3 days Yoongi, I did 1 day Yoongi, Natasha did
0
her university deadlines with Yoongi.
And some TikTok.
We watched one of the live streams.
Yeah. So yeah, very exciting. We're going to talk about our experience on the tour as well. But first of all, we're going to talk about recent events because quite a lot has happened. I didn't realize there was so much, but then when I thought about it, and I was like, actually, everyone has done stuff. So
they're always busy.
Yeah, Kim Namjoon, he had a feature out literally just the other day
with the hectic guy.
Yeah, with
Cold.
Do you like it?
It's all right. It's almost so calm that it feels like it's not really music.
Yeah.
It feels like it's almost like one of those meditation songs that you listen to in the spa.
Yeah.
It is definition inoffensive.
I need to give it a few more listens. I feel like that with a lot of our features.
I've tried that a few times.
Yeah.
And I normally love them straight away.
Oh, so yeah, I'm always like a bit like, oh, this is a bit weird. But then after like 5-6 listens, I'm like, actually, this is really good. I felt that way about Taxi of Kim and Smoke Sprite.
The album cover is the same as Indigo. It's a little blue. I liked that. And I like Cold. And I like Hectic. And obviously I like RM.
Yeah.
The main RM news though is that we are petrified about enlistment after his 500-word letter about sadness.
He sent us a lovely letter is what I've put. But we were sad because he's probably going soon. Yeah. I still maintain I think he's going to release a proper like goodbye song like Jin and Hope you've done.
But, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's just because this feature came out and then he sent the sad letter.
Yeah.
And I was like, that wasn't a really big project, RM.
No, exactly.
You're only on it for like 10 seconds.
I know.
You're basically whispering.
An afternoon.
Like, what have you been working on?
Yeah. Because he said that he was going to go at the same time as J.O., but then he had this big project that he was going to finish before. So yeah. Anyway, on to the next one. Kim Seok-jin, he's still in the military.
Spoiler alert, still there.
But, I mean, I wrote this and I was thinking about it. We're near a third of the way done, guys.
Wow, 6 months. He's been gone 6 months.
He went in December. It's May now, so...
He has been gone a bit.
I wonder how many times he'd reshave his head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they reshave each other's heads, don't they? Based on his recent trolling of Hobie on Weverse. On there, he's like, have you got to shave your friend's head yet? When they're out there, they're like, oh, come on, mate.
Imagine being in the military and being like, yeah, I just shaved Jin's head.
I know. You've just touched Jin's head.
I know, yeah.
It's like his face.
Yeah.
No, it's good that it's just boys in the military. It'd be a big line.
Yeah, that's true.
Get like an army queue.
There might be a big line of boys.
Hand the razor back.
Yeah.
I bet that hair would sell expensive.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that hair would be so expensive.
Do you think you'd be able to clone it?
You can clone sheep.
That was what I was going to do with Yoongi's spit from the tour.
But you didn't bring it back.
No. Well, I didn't get any of that.
Just didn't get any.
Like, if he had spat on something of mine, then I probably would have brought it back, yeah.
You did get baptised in the water, though.
Yeah, he threw his water on me. I have washed my hair since this, unfortunately, but unconfirmed whether there was any spit in that water. It was from his water bottle, so then it probably was.
Well,
You know,
exactly that.
yeah.
Why didn't you have the little net ready? the cup?
Yeah.
You were busy doing other stuff. I don't think you can clone humans. It's not allowed legally.
Yeah, I think you can, like, technically.
You can, technically.
But also you get babies, so you need to wait for them to reach maturity.
It'd be a good scientific experiment.
That's true.
Then you'd have like a baby Yoongi who could like go ahead and be like the most successful person ever.
Yeah, and then,
but if you locked them in a dark room,
we'd know about nature versus nurture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For science! We must clone Yoongi for science.
It's just a shame that we can't do one of those Twilight things where like we stay the same age but they grow really quickly. That would have been ideal. Right. Next member up, Min Yoongi. I just wrote the whole episode's about you, so I'm not gonna dedicate any.
What's he been doing?
Yeah.
I've not seen him around, not heard from him.
Very visible.
He's everywhere.
Active these days. So we're gonna skip past him. Jung Ho-suk. He is in the military. I think this was the first one we've done since he enlisted officially.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very sad. Very sad.
I cried
especially
so
when the
much.
Bangtan bomb came out.
Oh, and they all went to see each other, and then they cropped Jin out of the picture.
I know,
because you're not allowed to make money when you're in the military.
Oh,
so
is that why?
he was allowed to put the picture on Instagram.
Yeah,
because that doesn't make any money, but YouTube brings in ad revenue,
It
so he
does,
wasn't allowed to be in there and make the money.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We've got the new Mang, and the Mang merch has been released. I didn't tell you this actually.
Yeah.
I've ordered the pajamas and the keyring, and then he did a little drawing for Mother's Day. And
yeah,
we
it was
saw
Parents'
that.
Day, I think.
Parents'
because it
Day.
said Oma and Oppa on the drawing.
They have Parents' Day and Children's Day, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And that was really sweet.
Anything else on Hobie?
No, just that we miss him.
We do. We hope
It's
you're doing
really
okay.
sad. Oh, and he went to see Yoongi.
He did, yeah, he did. He
We'll get
went
to that.
see Yoongi in the amygdala behind the scenes, because of course he did. He's a lovely boy. Park Jimin, he went to Tiffany.
He did.
Yeah,
We saw him.
New York. We saw him at Yoongi's concert.
Yeah, we did. We were there when he was there. I was there.
He was
As we would have
on the
been.
other side of the arena to us, but we could see his little white t-shirt. He wore this Augustine merch t-shirt. Very sweet.
Whenever he stood up, I died.
Oh.
So sad. He was the biggest rumour for the Met Gala.
Yeah,
then didn't go. Long.
And he didn't perform 20 Montana.
He did not perform Tony Montana.
Jimin, you need to just do better. No, just kidding.
Send him.
Yeah.
Off to the military, Jimin.
And think about what you've not done.
Think about what you could have done if you were better.
There was something else I thought of. Oh, yeah, he was in Yoongi's live after the New York
Oh, yeah.
concert.
The first one, apparently. There's never been a Yeonmin live.
No, yeah, I know, yeah.
Never.
Yeah,
Never,
that's
ever.
what they said.
And now there's one.
Right, okay. Kim Tae-young, he's had various chaotic lives. And he told us we need better questions. He also finished his Ginny's Kitchen.
He did.
Yeah, and he was happy someone recognised him, and he did the little dynamite dance.
And he cooked for armies after they'd come and they'd closed the restaurant. But he was like, no, but there's still some armies waiting. And he made like another 20 corn dogs.
Oh,
I know.
All right, last one. John Jungkook.
He cut his bangs.
Oh,
So
yeah.
blend in at Coachella. Did
Yeah,
not
he
work.
No.
Yeah, but like, I cut my bangs.
Yeah.
So how did you even recognise me?
No, I look like Dora the Explorer, actually. So, oh yeah, no, they did go to a movie premiere as well. The Taeyeon.
Oh, they
JK,
did, didn't they?
Yeah, the
when we
Dream
were away.
one.
And they hid behind the signs.
Yeah, they did. It's very sweet. And he looked like Dora the Explorer.
He does. The new haircut is.
Yeah,
oof,
it looks
it's-
great in
it's
Calvin Klein
tough.
ads, but
It's one of those where, like, when it's styled, when you're at the hairdresser's,
Yeah.
it looks great. But then when you're at home doing it by yourself, you're like, oh, shit.
I think in the lives though it looks fine.
I
like
think
it
in the
just
last
pushed
live
out.
when he cooked, it looked like Dora.
Oh really?
We've not had no Calvin Klein Europe ads though.
No, boards have gone
No,
up. They said it
no.
was soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said that they would.
It would have been the week after everyone else got it, but then even the one in New York's been changed now.
Well, exactly, and it wasn't even there for Youngest Star.
That's,
They'd taken it down like a few days before.
that's bad planning.
It would have been a pilgrimage to
I
them.
know, we
'Cause it
would
was
have went.
massive.
We would have gone there. Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah. All right. So, are we ready to talk about D-Day?
Yes.
D-Day.
So it was on Thursday, the 30th of March, that we started seeing leaks that Sugar's documentary was coming out. Yeah, but it was confirmed that same day by Disney Plus and by Weavers that we will be getting Road to D-Day soon. no date as of then. It was also like a week after Jimin's album come out, so it just felt fairly
we knew they were close, didn't we? Because they had to edit the name of Face Yourself to just Face It to go back and delete all the yourself.
I think Jimin's album must have been delayed, but then Yoongi said that his album was delayed as well. He said on such a time, he was like, "Oh, I can finish it.
I had to go to the
myself. I just delayed it." So anyway, the next day on the 31st, I believe, was when I saw on Disney Plus that the doc was going to be released on the 21st of April. Very exciting. And then on Sunday, the 2nd of April, they announced that the third album in the August D trilogy, D-Day, was going to be released on the same day as the documentary. And I was more excited than I've ever been in my entire life. No, I really was.
No, at that point, yes. Yeah. You would later go on to be more excited than you were. But that was also D-Day related.
But maybe when I got the tickets, I think I got the tickets for the tour before we knew about the album.
So were you more excited when you got the VIP standing ticket or when you got the album?
Oh, I think they related to each other because by the time the album was announced, I already had the VIP ticket. So because I had the VIP ticket, it's like, oh my God, also, there's going to be an album.
Oh, so you were the most excited.
That also happened on the same day, unfortunately, as the death of Ryuichi Sakamoto, who obviously now we know plays piano on one of the songs on D-Day, and who Yoongi went to meet in the autumn when he went to Japan. So he didn't do any posts or anything that day except the message saying, "I hope you have a safe trip on your long journey." That was sad. Rest in peace. In the announcement, it also said about a pre-release track. And I remember when I read it, I didn't see that. And then everyone's like, "Oh my God, pre-release track." And I was like, "What do you mean pre-release track?" But yeah, there was a pre-release track. And then on the 4th of April, he said that he was listening to People from D2 on his Instagram story. And then they announced that the pre-release track would be People Part 2 featuring IU. We would come out just 3 days later, and it was very exciting because I love both People Part 1 and 8, this IU song that Yoongi produced and featured on. So very exciting. People was actually my most played song on Spotify Rap last year, aside from Yet to Come, but that was just because I was streaming it. Yeah. So organically, second best is pretty good. On the 5th of April, Yoongi posted some lyrics on Instagram.
So but she'd scrolled out. And it had the notes.
It did, yeah. And we knew that it was going to be about love.
Oh.
Yeah, so he says, "The word love, perhaps a list of fleeting emotions of the moment, ? Comes with conditions. What do I love?" And then there was loads of that one. Yeah.
Where is she?
I wish. And then there was the line, "I want a serious relationship," that he hadn't scribbled out, which was very people sort of obsessed about. But then in the actual song, it says, "I want genuine connections with others." I think
not like it's not about a romantic interest. It's People Part 2.
Well, it does say "Oh, you're gone," and "We who thought about forever," and "We're gone and we can't think about forever anymore." But I guess it depends. It could be about BTS. Like Jimin's song. He said he wrote it in lockdown when he thought he'd lost everything.
Lost everyone, yeah.
Yeah. Cried at that, both at the lyrics and with excitement. I can't believe I have to wait 2 more days. That's what at the time. Oh, and then someone online found that he'd used the "Forever is a Sandcastle" and "Love Collapses in a Gentle Way" before, both in 8 with IU and in Savage Love that they did with Jason Derulo, I think it was. And then in the morning of the 6th of April, we had the trailer for the Road to D-Day documentary, which looked amazing. He talked about enjoying his traveling. You could see him driving his little convertible.
I just think all of the albums should have had a documentary.
Yeah.
It looked like it was so good, but also so easy to make.
I guess Job did his Hope in the Box documentary.
Did, yeah. And Aram did the one where he did all the interviews. And
that was really good.
You go around and see all the people that he wanted to feature.
Yeah. I think Yoongi said that he was just wanting to travel a bit for inspiration and why don't we film it? And he was like, "Well, you always film me, so sure." But he also said that they'd cut out a lot of the most vulnerable scenes that he'd wanted to keep in because of his idol persona.
Maybe he was naked.
I don't think so, but maybe.
I wish I could train.
Is that vulnerable? This is the real thing. Just put some pants on, man.
We would have known about the tattoo.
Maybe they'll do a Part 2.
Maybe.
XXX version. Right, go on.
He was also named an ambassador for the NBA, which is exciting. Very nice for him. They talked about how they would have a presence throughout his first solo world tour. And they talked about how he's featured basketball in several of BTS's projects, most notably the music video for Dynamite in 2020. Sure, yeah, he does have a basketball in that. But yeah, we know he loves basketball, so he was excited. That's nice. I didn't see any NBA stuff when I went to the tour, but maybe at some of the other subs. On the 7th, the song was here with the MV. It was beautiful. He was hanging around in a beautiful house, just writing and recording and dipping his toes in the pool. Yeah, did
Lots
a lot
of
of
feet
that.
content.
And he's
It's
wearing...
cute. The MV's cute.
Yeah.
That MV People Part 2 feels like so long ago.
It does, yeah.
And I think People Part 2 sort of feels different.
He said he released it first.
It's not. Yeah, because it's its own little gentle genre, and then D-Day is like...
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a section on D-Day that's like SDL is also quite gentle, and Polar Night is gentle in sound at least. But
yeah, but it's all rap, whereas People Part 2 is like a soft vocal.
Yeah, but he does rap on it. The verses are rap.
It's nice. I like People Part 2.
Yeah, it was meant to show his experience of writing and producing the album in COVID times. That's why he's just hanging out in a house by himself. And there was a dog. And I wanted to be that dog because he was cuddling the dog so much. Yeah,
the dog had it easy.
And he was wearing all these like soft, nice outfits.
What did you think?
When I first listened to it, I don't think I loved it as much as part 1.
Yeah.
The first one.
I think I agree with that. Part 1 is better.
I just didn't love it initially as when I first listened to it, but I don't know if maybe listening to it more, it might change.
I've put here, let's talk about the chorus, because I think that's the problem for me. He said he wrote it because he wanted fans to be able to sing along, which makes sense. And it is easier to sing along with because it's like a female voice, and that suits, I guess, most of his fans' vocal register better. But it just doesn't make any sense.
I thought that. I was like, why does this, like, all of the English in it, I feel like it's a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, I think the English across the rest of the album is fine. It's like a little like with Indigo, there's times when you're like, oh, that's phrasing is a little awkward. But this chorus of People Part 2, it's not saying anything. It's literally just words that's put together. So time is yet, now right here to go. I know you know anything does know. So time is yet, now right here to go. Nobody doesn't know anymore. That's the chorus. Other than that, it's a nice song. But it's just...
I always just sing I don't know. Those words have not been in my mouth yet, but I've not looked at them. But I like singing I don't know.
It's subtitled on the
MV.
So that's, I guess, why
you saw it.
In my face.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But yeah, the only thing I can think of that it might mean is that, like, because it was during COVID time, it's like talking about time and what we know. So, like, I guess in COVID times we didn't really have a concept of time and we didn't really know anything, so maybe that's why it's just randomly talking about time and what we know. But like, I'm reaching there. Yeah,
the English lyrics are complicated.
I wish I didn't find them jarring, but I just do. He said that RM helped him with some of the other English lyrics in the album, so I feel like maybe he should have asked him again.
Not just RM, anyone. Nicole.
Yeah,
there's people available ready to stick it on Weverse.
Yeah, exactly.
You get 100 million replies.
Does that make any sense? I know. Yeah.
Like when V uses Weverse as Google.
We'll add it to our list of questions for him when we meet him.
Well, you were meant to have already asked him. You were meant to ask him when you were in New York.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what you had the list of questions for.
Right. Yeah.
And now you have to go again.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, and then he also did a really cute live where he read people's questions about love and people. And then he gave some very practical, very Yoongi advice, I'd say, where people would be like, oh yeah, but it's so hard because my girlfriend lives here and I'm just here and blah blah blah, I don't know whether we should move closer. And he was like, just move closer. And then he was like, oh yeah, no, I've got a friend and we've been friends for a while, but we maybe want to date, like maybe not because we're in the friendship, blah blah blah. And he was like, just stay.
He was very direct with his advice.
Yeah. And then someone asked him about his 7 tattoo.
Oh.
He was like, oh, I don't even know where it is. Where is it? I don't know.
Yeah, he's been silly.
But some people have now said that they think it's on his shoulder
Because the
because
injury. Oh, that would be so beautiful.
Yeah, so it's on his right shoulder, it would be, because people think they can see, you know, in that photo where he's like topless but with the flowers. People think they can see like a skin-colored patch on that shoulder.
Oh.
And I've looked at it. It looks like there could be something there. And in the live, when they ask, he's sort of like shaking that shoulder towards the mic. He's like, I don't know. And then also in the live that he did ages ago, he rubbed that same shoulder when he was talking about it. He was like, I don't know where my tattoo is. Like, it is.
That's going to come out after, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, look at all of these times when Yoongi showed us where his tattoo was.
Yeah, so that's what people think now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Did we ever get to the bottom of the flower photos?
No.
We're still not there, right?
No, I know.
They were just for fun.
I know. Why are you being mysterious? Tell us what you're doing.
I want answers, Yoongi.
I know. Yeah. And he talked to Army's Jimin and J-Hope on the phone. And they talked about how much they love Army because it was about to be like, it was meant to be about love and relationships. So they called in with, oh my God, I've got this problem. I just love Army so much.
Nerds.
Yeah. He didn't know that they were calling, so they called in and he was like, oh, that's J-Hope. And he was like, how'd you know? And he was like, oh, I knew from your breathing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you said that you could tell from my breathing when I was around. And I was like, do I breathe loudly? And you were like, no, just distinctively. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, but I think everyone does. Like, I guess it was just because I thought it was weird that he could tell from the breathing. But then I had someone like standing next to me and I thought it might be you. But then I was like, no, she doesn't breathe like that.
I'm going to start testing if I can pick up on people's breathing.
Yeah. And then people asked him why he was so cute. And he was like, well, I was born and then I was cute.
I was born and then I was cute.
Yeah.
It was a good life, that.
Yeah, it was very cute. He wore the
full of content.
Cuddliest cardigan I've ever seen. And then he talked about how the song contained lyrics from Savage Love because he actually wrote it before that song.
Oh.
Yeah, because he wrote it 3 years ago. And the song was made just after People Part 1, apparently. And he said that he was going to call it just, you know, because sarang in Korean is love and saram is people. He was going to call it just sara. So you have
so it could
people,
be either.
Yeah, but then he thought that'd be confusing because apparently that also means life. And then someone said, I wish I could go to your concert. And he was like, oh, I wish I could go back in time and fix it because the staff apparently told him that he should do stadiums, but he didn't think he'd sell out stadiums.
Oh, yeah. He definitely could.
He definitely could, yeah. He also had these little cat plushies on the side. And then someone asked him to put one on his head, and then he did.
He wore it on his head. He was on top form that day.
He really was. Very charming. And then there was a clip of him and IU doing the song live. And then the same day there was Map to Come Back, which was exciting because I wasn't sure he was going to do one. But he did. And then there was the MV photo shooting sketch, but there was loads of photos that I looked at for a long time, and then I put them all into this grid and put them in the Google Doc.
I've seen it,
yeah.
Is that the one that you talked me through when we were away,
yes.
when we were in Paris?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this one picture of Yoongi is really cute. And you were like, sit down.
Yeah.
I'll show you all 16 in detail.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not what.
I really like the one with the cardigan when he was singing into the microphone. Yeah, the cardigan that had kind of deep V.
Yeah. I liked the one in the director's chair. That's the one I
that one's nice.
noted.
But yeah, check those out. There's one with the dog, one with the guitar,
one with the feet.
Two with feet, actually.
Oof.
Yeah, loads for you guys over there. After the song came out, there were lots of little interviews to watch on Disney Plus. He also did an interview with Billboard. He said the summer's going to be fucking busy, but with a wink, so not in a douchey way. He said, no, this is what he said as well that was interesting. He said that he made People Part 2 and he pre-released it, like the softer song, because he wanted to sort of bridge the gap between his previous mixtapes and like a more poppy sound. Yeah.
Part 2, it's on its own.
He talked about loneliness and how we all feel it, including him, and how the song relates to that. And he said he always brings up loneliness in interviews, but they tend to edit that part out.
Jesus, Yoongi.
I know, yeah.
Get a dog. Another one.
He has a dog.
I think he does have a dog.
Yeah. No, I think he just means like, I'm sure there's loads of people he could go hang out with, but I think he means in terms of like being able to relate to people. You can be lonely even if you're living with people and seeing people. And
you've got a dog.
and the dog, yeah, exactly. With People Part 2 and with the documentary, he said he wanted to show a more personal and humane side of him as Min Yoongi, but that many of his favorite scenes had been edited out because of his K-pop idol position. And by now he thinks that him and BTS are finally being recognized as musicians, he said. And then he did the one with Disney Plus where he talked about like the roadmap via his previous albums. So it was like the road to D-Day. And that's when he talked about how he sort of came up with August D as like an alter ego, like Eminem of Slim Shady. And then he talked about Nicki Minaj having an alter ego as well. I don't know what hers is called.
Chun-Li.
Oh, okay.
Nicki Minaj, she's always Chun-Li.
And then he thought that people would approach his music with less sort of anti-idol biases if he released it under a separate name. And then he talked about how he wasn't trying to send angry messages necessarily, but he was angry and sensitive at the time because they weren't being recognized as idols or musicians. And then he said for D2, he was struggling mentally after their Map of the Soul tour had been cancelled and nothing was going to plan. So he thought that the only thing that he really could do was release a mixtape of songs that he hadn't been able to use up till then. He released Data thinking of what he would write if he was king of the world. Because the music was used for kings. But now he thinks it's a bit juvenile. Yeah. And he talked about how he used virtual instruments both for Data and Hegem.
We knew that because he can't play the Hegem.
No. And now his goal is just trying to make it fun because he's achieved all his other goals. And then about the new album, he said that he wanted to focus on the present. He didn't have a lot more to say about the past. He'd sort of told all his stories already. And he didn't want to be harboring shame about the past or be scared about the future. So now he wants to live in the present. It would be similar to his previous stuff, but more varied, which I think is fair. And listeners might think, oh, wow, he can do this too. But he doesn't have huge expectations, he said, because people around him had just said it was okay.
Oh.
He thinks he could have done better. So he had some regrets, he said, but he can resolve those through the tour. He hopes that we'll watch the documentary and come to his concert. Which we did. Yeah. Well done. And then there was an interview where he did a guidebook about himself, where he talked about like his preferences in terms of traveling and stuff. It was quite cute. I learned that in Korea, apparently they call him Motionless Min. And
Motionless Min.
Something called Min Padak, which is short for if you fall for Min Yoongi, there's no way back.
Well, you know
that. Yeah, I
did. Daily.
Yeah, because I asked him which is his favorite nickname, and he said Min PD, and then they were like, yeah, what about like Min Padap or like Lil Meow Meow and stuff? And he was like, well, I love those nicknames, but I don't think I can use them because it'd be too narcissistic. Like I love when the fans use them. Yeah, he talked about how he'd gone to the mountains to write his album. He asked for Army to recommend him some travel spots in Weverse. So I immediately went on there. It was like London. So nice. But it was like, oh, I really like places that aren't crowded. And I was like, oh no. South London. It's really quiet there.
Super quiet. Meet me in St. Albans.
Yeah. And then he said that Halsey never replies to his messages.
What? No, he didn't. She's a really shit texter.
She just keeps forgetting.
She keeps ghosting me.
He's been trying to update his Instagram since he started it last year. But he's not very good at social media. And he tries to remember to take pictures of nice places and good meals with his mind, not with his phone.
Right.
And then he records them through notes like on his phone or like in notepads and stuff.
Yeah, that'll.
Yeah. There was another interview where there was like Suga and Auguste was interviewing each other.
Yeah.
Now he talked about how Auguste can be more raw with his lyrics than Suga, and then there are less restrictions. He didn't write his songs to achieve some sort of catharsis, but he feels freer after having written about his trauma and like his feelings that he needed to overcome. So he feels like it has helped. Ever since debut, he felt that concerts were the most important part of a singer's job. So he felt that he should still do a concert, even if he would have preferred to do it as like a 7. And then he said
and stress.
Yeah.
He said about all the decisions he had to make, right? Like
literal
decision after decision after decision.
Yeah, but apparently he insisted on making all the decisions himself, which I never thought he would do. I always thought they had like a person who maps out the story for the music video, but he said that he did that himself. He said that the stage design and all that.
I know he
stuff.
did the stage design, yeah.
Yeah. And then he went on I's Palette which was a really long interview, so I've only picked out some highlights of what I could remember after watching it. But they talked about how she'd recorded the song, she'd recorded it like remotely on her own and sent the clip to him, and he just sent her a thumbs up in response.
Yeah, she wasn't happy.
She thought that he didn't like it because all he'd sent her was a thumbs up. And he was like, no, I was like clapping in the studio, being like, this will work, this will be great. And she was like, well, you could have said, because I thought you hated it. Yeah. He was upset that IU hadn't asked him to come sing 8 with her on her tour in Korea. And he was like, I wasn't doing anything, I was free.
Sat at home waiting.
You never
Sai's always asking me, Sai's begging me, I'm turning up.
But they did it together on the show. So he performed People Part 2 and 8 together. And she let him sing the last chorus of 8. And when he performed People, it was the first time she'd heard it, she said. And she was like, oh my God, this song's amazing. And then she said that she listened to the album already and she liked it. And her favorite song was Snooze, I believe.
Snooze is good.
Yeah, Snooze is good. And then from Monday, the 10th of April to Wednesday, the 12th of April, we got the 3 Marie Claire covers, which were very nice. I've got the 2 of them as my phone backgrounds currently. There was one where he did like a Jimin shoulder pop. And then there was one where he was wearing this lace top thing and the beige jumper with the spikes on. And then he appeared on this show called Dun Dun with Jimin. It was super chaotic. He's really into cars. He's got an insane memory because to one of the presenters, he was like, oh yeah, I remember I saw you in that CU convenience store right near here when I was a trainee and you were driving a Range Rover and this is what you bought. And like, this is,
Jeez.
Yeah. So I saw you. And he was like, oh, why didn't you come say hi? And he was like, because I was just a trainee. And then he said it takes 2 hours for him to shoot Suchuta. And then Jimin said that's because he says inappropriate things to lighten the mood.
That's fair.
Yeah. At midnight on KST on the 14th, we got the Glitch film, which was brilliant. I really enjoyed that one. Got me really excited for the album. Augustine narrated it, which I didn't realize at first because I was like, no, the English is way too good.
Oh.
Yeah. But then I listened to it again and I was like, no, it is him. It says in the credits as well. He says, small flaws, glitches, my new after image, breaking down the wall between what I want to say and what I cannot say. Not getting intimidated, but rebelling and raising questions against the world's demands. The world's fixed stereotype collides with my inner self and leaves trauma for a while. But this temporary glitch transforms into the driving force to create a new wavelength and it becomes part of me. I think he's talking about his accident mainly because he's talked about collision. Okay. But mainly sort of the trauma in general. But I think from the content we've had since, it seems like he thinks that
it's a definer.
Yeah.
It's a defining moment.
Yeah, that accident sort of changed him and sort of maybe it was what sort of created this Auguste character.
Mm-hmm.
But it used a lot of imagery from the previous Auguste MVs. It also pointed at the 3 faces of Auguste. So there's Auguste, Minugi, and Sugar, obviously. And that's something he's talked about loads. I always ask him like, oh, what's the difference between all these personas that you have?
By the glitch film, that's when you're getting the indication that we're not in People Part 2 anymore, right? That it's going to be darker, heavier.
I think I was reassured by the glitch film.
Yeah, whereas I was really happy with People Part 2. I was like, yes, like, give me some more soft vocals. Yeah. And then the glitch film was like, oh no, we're going digital, we're going angry rap.
And then on the 16th, there were concept photos.
With the scar and the flame and the policeman.
He was stood in a suit in one of them, in one, like a big room with loads of stuff in the background.
Looking like Mafia.
He really did look like Mafia. I said in my notes, I was like, is he a Mafia boss or a police officer?
I didn't know he was a police officer until the Hegum music video. Well, I thought he was Mafia boss then.
Yeah, but he does stand in front of the like police sign in the concept photos, but I thought maybe he'd been brought in as the Mafia boss. There's that one image of him standing in front of the fire, and I wrote, do police officers often stand by fires and like stare you down?
And he had the scar. I remember that was a big deal.
It looked great, obviously. Really tailored suit as well.
Don't hit the tie.
Well, it's not like a school uniform tie, it's like a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, but sometimes even when they wear the ties in the suits, I don't like that.
Oh, really?
It pulls it off.
Do you not like ties in general, or just
on the boys? No.
But like, say you're like dating someone and they were serious, that like
you're
not like, oh my god, you're so handsome and you're serious.
No, I think I do like that.
Yeah,
I do like that. But then tie's always just, I prefer with no tie.
Oh, interesting.
Like casual.
Okay.
For my future husband.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Oh yes. This is what
RM doesn't wear ties often.
This is what you should be wearing. Well, you're set then.
I'm set. Yeah. That's the main reason. He's my bias.
Yeah. So by then, I think we knew that it was going to be
a
little bit related. More theatrical. I said I'm hoping for a big story like Daechita.
Well, I thought it was going to be like the modern day version of Daechita. It felt like he was there, but
yeah, it wasn't.
That character from Daechita was now in a modern world.
That's pretty accurate, isn't it? And then armies found this mysterious Instagram account, which was a big deal. It looked like it was set up for, essentially, there's his Instagram account, if you don't know. The handle is at D 2016-2023. So that's when August D sort of lived and died, because he said he might stop using the name now. And then the first album came out in 2016. People thought it was like the Uto one that Jin had, because it sort of appeared.
Because that one turned out to be real, didn't it?
Yeah,
and the Smeralda flower one.
So similar to the Uto one, this one came out of the blue, but only follows one account, and it's Yoongi's account on Instagram. It seemed to be posting a lot of images from the glitch film, but like edited ones. So that's why.
Before the film or after?
Just after. But like they'd edited them as if like the content was original. But then I think what's been confusing, so I thought it was definitely official, but then since it started like being like, vote for him on M Countdown.
That's definitely a fan.
And then like stream RM's new feature. And so now I don't think it is official anymore. No. But it was really clever, like really clever. There were loads of posts. There was one showing this, like, I think it's a bathtub, but it looked like a sarcophagus from the concept photos that the crop guy is standing in front of. And then we later see him in this bathtub. So people thought it was where the king was buried after Daechita. They kept putting all these captions in like numbers, and you had to relate the numbers to the alphabet, and then it said the king. And then there was one with like a glitch between two pictures of birds, and like if you counted the birds and related that to the alphabet, it said is. So now we have the king is. And then there was another reel, and the sound was recognized as Morse code. There's like a VCR spinning, and if you link it to Morse code, it says back. So now we have the king is back. But yeah, it was really elaborate, and people definitely thought it was official. But
it now follows all the boys.
Is it?
And the recent story is vote for Higaman. Don't ever say love me on M Countdown.
Maybe it's like a staffer.
You can see about the account. Joined in August. Don't tell you where it's based.
Yeah, so that's what I thought was strange as well, when they all of a sudden started posting like just random OT7 content.
Well, it was this army
very convincing for a while.
Intelligent army.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, and then there were more concept photos where he was in the the shirt with all the like little leaves on. One where he sat in the bathtub, one where he's looking in the mirror, another one in the mirror, and then another one where he stood in front of the fire. He doesn't have the scar in them, and he also only wears silver jewelry. And the king's sword from Daechita is in the background. You can see it like behind him when he's in the bathtub. And he's in the same room as the first police scar Augusty, but he's in the tub instead of in front of the tub. In the live that he did after D2, he talked about how the black hair Augusty only wears silver accessories. So then people thought the guy in the bathtub is meant to be the same as the like rebel in Daechita. He's literally like dripping in silver accessories. He's got loads of them. And then people thought that it was a bath because it represented a baptism or a rebirth. So that showed him like having made peace with his past and his previous persona, which I think that fits.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then the teaser came out, where you see him walking through the streets with all this like henchmen.
When he's all swaggy in the blue blazer and the
bomber jacket.
Yeah.
That's when he runs and you see him do the chopstick killing.
That was exciting.
That was really exciting. Yeah. He's a bad bitch. Yeah, he was walking down the street. It looked like sort of the modern version of the same street from Daechta with loads of stuff like happening either side of him. There's some Easter eggs in the numbers. There's this big party bus banner, and there's a phone number for the party bus company, 3102, which obviously is 2013 backwards, which was when they debuted. And then there's 709, which is July 9th, when BTS announced the fandom name ARMY, same year. And then there's 0309, which is Yoongi's birthday, the 9th of March.
Do you think they've got like a head of Easter eggs?
I don't know.
Like, you know, because this is just like props, right?
Yeah.
So when we watch the Amygdala behind the scenes, there's the one there, and he doesn't even know that it's like, it's a menu, a food menu that's stuck to a door, and he realizes it's like Big Hit Chicken. And he's like, oh, that's us. We made this. So you think there's like a team of people.
It's like a props team.
A props team. No, but within the props team, there's like a head of Easter eggs who's like, we've got to put in these references.
Maybe they've just got one big Google Doc of like important numbers to use on props. Maybe that's like the thing. It's like, hi, welcome to Big Hit. Hi, like, introduce yourself. Oh, name me 3 things that's significant to this music video.
Interesting, yeah. It'd be a cool job if you were the head of Easter eggs. All you do is just come in and like drop BTF references and then leave. BTS references.
Yeah.
And then leave.
There's also loads of references to tattoo. So there's at least 2 tattoo shops in that one street scene. So he's
annoying.
Us, I feel like
all the Easter egg guys teasing us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the like his birthday and stuff seems very specific to him. Obviously, he didn't design that one chicken menu, but that could have been just because they couldn't use a real chicken menu because they can't advertise, right? So yeah. So don't know if that's the same people that make those things. Anyway, the next thing we received was the official album.
Oh, but on the teaser though, it ends with all of the blood splatter.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't.
Where's that? The blood splatter with the chopsticks.
I
was watching it in my bed in the morning, and then he does the like stab, and I was like, oh, not what I expected.
Yeah,
scary. That's how you know it's gonna be scary.
He went into the shop and then killed the guy with the chopsticks. That's like what ended the teaser. So yeah, exciting times. And then we received the
D-Day comes
album and documentary on D-Day. So because we've done it for everyone else, we have to ask you guys, how did you listen? Did you listen to it first? Did you watch the music video first?
I woke up late.
Not at 5 a.m.
Not at 5 a.m. Come out of my room to go and brush my teeth, and then I heard it in the distance.
Yeah.
As in, Christine was already playing it downstairs. And then I heard it, and then I was like, oh! And then I came running downstairs, and I was like, Christine, it's D-Day. And she was like, I know.
Yeah.
And then you put Hegum on the TV. And then I watched Hegum on the TV for the first time. I assume that was the 50th time you'd watched it.
It was at least like a few times in. But no, I woke up at 5, but not gonna lie, I spent like quite a few hours in my bed, like having nightmares that I didn't like it and stuff.
Standard.
So I remember waking up, I went into Spotify, saw all the songs were there, but I was like, no, I'm too scared to press play. It's too scary. And then I went back to sleep and I was like, oh my God, no, I didn't like it. Wait, no, that was a dream. And then I got up and I was like, right, I'm just going to listen to it. So then I actually listened to D-Day, the song D-Day first. And then I watched the Hegum music video, and then I listened to the rest of the album because I was like, this is the order that it was meant to be in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I should have kept faith in my man. He came through. But
I think after you'd shown me Hegum, I went upstairs to finish getting ready, and then I played it D-Day through.
Yeah.
Natasha, have you even listened to it 3 weeks later?
Yes, I have listened to it.
I'm joking.
Yeah. As you all know, I can't afford Spotify Premium, so I listened to it by being like, play K-pop mix, and it was like, Hegum, because obviously they usually put like the newer ones in it and it comes on first, so I listened to it that way and I'm like, oh yeah, I like it. Similar vibe to Digitar, but I kind of didn't really expect something crazily different from Mr. Min Yoongi.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a Yoongi album. It sounds exactly like a Yoongi album.
Yeah.
I was more surprised with People Part 2 and then into this, like, oh, maybe he's into his software. Nah, he's still Yoongi. But I knew that from the teaser. When the teaser came out and was angry, I was like, we're not getting anything gentle.
Day has gentle parts. It's more like varied than his first few albums, I'd say. He said he thinks it has a lot of different genres because it has the more like rocky songs like D-Day, and then it's got Hegum, which is obviously a follow-up to Day to Ta. And it's got some of the like softer rap songs like Polar Night, and then it's got more songs for his vocals like Amygdala, and his version of Life Goes On. So there's definitely a lot of range, I think. Good album overall. It was on brand.
I remember D-Day progressed with you being like, who's at the door? Who's at the door? Is that my album? Is that my album? Every time there was a parcel, and we're a heavy parcel household. Yeah. There was a lot of visitors that day, and she was like, oh, is that it? And I was like, this is not it. And she was like, oh, is that it? And I was like, this is not it. And then there was a rant about HMV letting us down again for not delivering it. Imagine how bad you would have felt if it would have came when mine came. Mine came when we were in New York.
I know, yeah.
Like,
really
I ordered my album before Christine ordered hers from HMV UK, and mine came like week and a half after release.
Yeah, at least mine came only a couple of days later. But you know, sometimes they deliver them like the day before, come back and stuff, which is also not good. But I really wanted it on the day, obviously.
On D-Day?
On D-Day, yeah. But I think I got it on like Saturday, Sunday.
S-Day.
Yeah.
F-Day. It's 2 days after D-Day.
Yeah.
A D2 day.
Oh my god. Onslaught of awesome jokes here. Right, okay. So the MV then, people have loads of theories about sort of who's who and what it means. Obviously there's two Yoongis, same as in Day to Ta.
Before we got into the theories, I thought it was Yoongi killing Yoongi, didn't I? I thought it was 3 Yoongis. But then I came down and I was talking to you about it, and you were like, no, that's the policeman. So I was on this all of a tangent where I was like, Yoongi hates Augusty hates Yoongi. This is the Sugar version. He hates the BTS version. He's killing that version. And you were like, you're just wrong. I was like, oh, right.
Could be,
I was like, right. And she was like, so that's a police station. I thought it was lots of the 3 versions of Sugar.
Where are you getting 3 from? That's what I'm...
The one in the bathtub.
Right.
The one in the jacket.
Uh-huh.
And then the one in front of the police station. I thought that they were different. The guy in the bomb jacket wasn't the guy in the bathtub. I didn't even see the tangerines, right? I was just like, oh, Yoongi's killing Yoongi.
Oh, okay.
And then when he pulled out the gun...
he is killing Yoongi, but yeah.
Yeah, but not like the other versions of you. I thought Augusty was killing Sugar because he hated the BTS version of Sugar, or vice versa.
Oh, right.
Or Yoongi was killing them both.
I mean, people have loads of different theories. I don't think there's 3 Augusties.
There's
I think
2.
There's just 2 because he's wearing the same like jewelry when he's not got the scar. Even though he's got a couple different outfits. So I think the king in Day to Ta and the police officer is meant to represent authority within the system that he sort of doesn't seem to have a lot of faith in, but he has to live in that system, which is part of what he says in, like, he sings about in the songs.
So in Day to Ta, it's like traditional rule, and in Hegum, it's capitalism. Or the authority, actually, the police.
Yeah. Some people have said that they think the police officer is corrupt. I guess it's
decommission the police.
Well, you could think it's just the system, right? Like the society we currently live in that he's not happy with. He talks about loads of different things. Capitalism is just one word in the song. So it's not like it's around that capitalism, but it's around that, like, a lot of stuff that sort of fuels people's desires and motivates people to act in a certain way in our current society. So I think the thief in Hegum is the same side as the rebel in Day to Ta, mostly because of his comment about how black-haired Augusty wears silver accessories.
Well, and there's the duplicate scenes, right, of him in the car. So the rebel in the car doing the donuts, and then the thief in the car with his head hanging out. They're almost like identical scenes.
Yeah. Like you said, obviously, he does have the king's robe symbol is on the bomber jacket. So that's what's confusing about it.
Yeah.
But then
that's why I thought he was the king.
In Interlude Shadow, there's a long line where it just goes, you are me and I am you. So maybe it's trying to say it's all sort of the same, all interlinked. It's not like 2 separate personalities or separate personas that he inhabits. He said this in a lot of interviews as well, because he's obviously been asked 100 million times, so what's the difference between Sugar and Augusty? And he's like, they're not different, really. They're both this me. Like, the music they make is maybe slightly different, but they're not different personalities.
Yeah, and I guess at this stage when we just got Hegum, we didn't know about the scar from amygdala.
Exactly, yeah.
So all we were doing was trying to link King, Scar, police officer, Scar. And we'd always thought pre-amygdala that was from a fight, right?
Yeah.
From a fight.
Yeah.
It was a scar from a conflict, not a scar from trauma, which we would later find out. Which, brilliant. We'll get to amygdala.
Yoongi also said that there was a chance the king didn't die in Daechta because you see him shoot the bullet, but you don't see it hit the target. Yeah. So in the live, he was like, well, I could have missed. There's a very cute bit as well where he steals tangerines. He wears a different shirt in that scene as well. And there's like the chopsticks bits, I guess. First thing he does is sort of walk through the street, then he walks into a cafe, steals someone's chopsticks, and then kills someone with them. And at the end of the MV, after the song's done, you see him go back to the same cafe
and eat with them.
And eat with the same chopsticks. Now, it's not the same chopsticks, but they're the same like color, version chopsticks, obviously.
Yeah.
So
murder sticks.
He sits down, the waitress drops over some chopsticks to him, and then he sort of picks them up to eat. So, yeah.
You know why?
What?
Because he's a psychopath.
No.
He doesn't mind that they're murder chopsticks. He actually enjoys that they're murder chopsticks.
Well, it was funny to see people's reactions because some people were like, oh my God.
So gross.
No, some people were like, yeah, it would be really gross to eat with the same chopsticks you used to kill, but just because it's Yoongi, it's super sexy. And some people were like, oh my God, it's a comment on the society that he lives in and how he needs to like kill to eat and eat to kill. And like, he's criticizing the society, but he has no choice.
He has to live in it.
There's no other society for him to live in, so he has to sort of.
And even if you kick back at it, you still got to eat, exactly. And you still got to pay to eat, you still got to bring the chopsticks.
There's no alternative, really. Like, you can kick back at it, but you can't be like, right, I'm going to live in this other society, actually.
We're moving to Aram's country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
I thought
it was really dark.
It was dark.
Hagen was really dark and poignant until amygdala. And then I was like, shit, the bed.
Yeah. Well, Hagen is much more theatrical, I think. Whereas, like.
Yeah, but it's a lot darker than Daechta. I guess in Daechta you've got the mass murder.
Yeah, I think both of those are meant to be, like, dramatic, like movies. Whereas amygdala is
scary.
Real. He's not playing a part there. He's just
himself.
Well,
I think the word I used was dark, right? So I found Hagen really dark. And then I was like, oh, this is dark Yoongi. And then amygdala came. And then I was like, no, this is dark Yoongi.
Yeah.
That's just normal Yoongi.
Yeah.
Who's a bit
fair.
dark.
That's fair. Yeah, he's got an edge. He's also talked about, there's quite a few scenes where he smokes in the MV. He talked about that in the documentary, actually. He said about how he included it to rile people up because he's like, as idols, we have to do so little for people to kick back at us or like pearl clutching, like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing this. People also thought that the goldfish scene might be symbolic.
Well, I knew Aram wouldn't be happy. So he hates aquariums, and that fish doesn't even have any food. He doesn't even have a filter.
He's meant to be a thief. So.
I'm calling Peter.
Yeah, well, some people said that they thought it was like living life in a fishbowl and a comment on like celebrity and how he sort of is observed all the time. But then the making of, he just said that he wanted to include a funny scene. So I don't know how serious it was really. But yeah, I think those are the points I had about the MV so far. I think I need more time to like look into all the trilogy of MVs properly before I give you my 1 hour lecture.
Look forward to that in 2027. No, I think it'll be good.
It'll be interesting, guys, I promise. But we need the background of having done the 2 albums, the previous 2, and sort of understanding those properly before we sort of will be able to connect all the dots. Yeah. What did you think of the music video, Natasha?
I like the colour of it. They're kind of like old style retro, like Korean. I like that bit to it. And I really like all the hairstyles.
Yeah, me too.
Love the long hair.
Well, little did you know it's going to be gone shortly.
I know.
It's going to be, and he did it on purpose.
Well, he did it
for the art.
For the art, yeah.
For the art.
For the art.
Were you not shocked at Hagen? Were you not like, oh, murder, oh, smoking, oh, tangerine stealer, oh, goldfish abuser, oh, Yoongi's dead?
He didn't abuse the goldfish, he just looked at it.
How did it get there, Christine?
I don't know.
It's
a water tank.
It's in a water tank, not a fish tank.
I know. It's in a water tank. You just chuff it in, I guess.
No, they need more space.
The goldfish live in a bowl.
Yeah, they're abused. Go on.
Arguably had more space than in a bowl, was what I was trying to say. Anyway.
I think it's just as expected from Sugar.
I still can't believe he shot him. Because I really thought that the bullet had not hit him, but it did.
Maybe it wasn't fatal. Like,
In the
because you
head?
just see him lying on the ground.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'll come
Maybe
back
you
to
just
life.
shot him in, like... Yeah, because people think even though Rebel Auguste doesn't have the scar, in the last scene when he goes to eat the noodles, his fringe sort of falls over his eye as if this where the scar would have been. And apparently also, you know, when he shoots the cop, he does a little like grin, like the like confident grin. Then the cop sort of reverts that same grin as if like, I'll be back.
This is coming.
I'll be back. Yeah, I can.
Maybe there is a third one in the Dijkstra Hegem trilogy.
Yeah, but he already said that he thinks Amygdala forms part of the trilogy, as in like, yeah, he said you should watch Amygdala then Dijkstra then Hegem is what he recommended, he said. I think it probably is a comment on like, if you've experienced trauma, then you can't really ever surpass it. Like, it could always come back.
It's always there.
Yeah, even though he's sort of shot it, he's done with it for now. It's not gone forever. There was also a little Hegem dance practice, which was quite short. It was cute. Hard. But he didn't do the dance.
He didn't do the dance at all on the tour. He doesn't do the dance in the MV either.
No, I know.
He doesn't. He just barely does this dance. Did it a few times. He learnt it. He's done it a few times. Once with Jimin, once with Phoebe, and then he's
and
like
a couple of the girls from Bliss Airfilm, I think, did it with him as well. I think
little
maybe
challenges.
he'll do more challenges. He
is busy.
He said he was really got into dancing, so maybe that's why he did it. It doesn't seem to have been for any sort of particular piece of content.
I thought it would be on the tour at least.
That's what I thought as well, but it wasn't. It's the first time I've ever seen him with like loose-fitting shirt. He obviously is usually quite modest. And in that dance practice, there were so many screenshots of like, I was surprised he let it go up, to be honest, because there were quite a few times where his whole jumper was like, well, he looked like Jimin when Jimin wears his loose stuff.
Yeah, he's got to, join the chapter 2.
Join the naked era.
He's got to join the naked era.
Yeah.
BTS chapter 2, no more clothes.
Should we talk about the documentary quickly?
D-Day.
D-Day documentary.
We loved D-Day, didn't we?
Yeah, we really liked Road to D-Day. I think we watched it the day after the album came out because
it was really good.
We were busy. And also, some people wanted to watch something else. Not any of us, obviously, but like other people we live with.
Christine and I have had the privilege of living in an army house for as long as I've been army, so 14 months now. Yeah. And now we've got a new housemate who's still yet to become army. Who didn't let you watch the D-Day documentary. That's like ultimate sacrilege. I'm surprised you didn't get the chopsticks out of the drawer. Finish her. I come back, she's laid on the rug and you're eating the noodles. Like, what? It's D-Day.
That's what I should have done, really.
That's what you should have done.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Yoongi. Next time I'll do that.
I think Yoongi would have let that shit slide.
No, he wouldn't. Anyway, highlights that I wrote down. He said he knew his mixtapes were going to be in 3 parts, like from the start. One about his insecurities. And then he said if he didn't take the time to talk about his insecurities, he had no reason to be a member of BTS. That's what he said. And then in part 2, he wanted to talk about the past and present. And then in part 3, he wanted to deliver a message about all of those things in general. He talked about how he wondered whilst making it whether this would be the last piece of work under the name Auguste. So we might be losing Auguste, guys. I think I'd sort of assumed that we had lost Auguste, but he's said a couple times now that he's not sure. He sort of talked a little bit about how he thinks that now they're being recognized as musicians. Obviously, he sort of came up with the alter ego partly to not be judged as, Sugar of BTS when he was releasing solo music. So,
but now Sugar of BTS holds a lot of weight.
Yeah, exactly.
So then he's in this position where he's having to explain who Auguste is.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, well, I could just be Sugar, but I haven't. I've created this persona because Sugar from BTS didn't get noticed other than as this little dinky boy band thing, and I wanted to be a serious rapper, and now I'm all of the things.
Yeah. And he met with Halsey, did the little
pigtail hair.
She did his hair. I was very jealous.
Yeah, she had her hair like that, in the little bunches. She then did his in the little bunches. Yeah, I thought when we'd seen the clips, that they'd done it at the same time for like some reason, but no, they got there and he'd obviously been like, "Oh, I love your hair," and she's like, "Well, you can have the same." Yeah,
and then he saw Anderson .Paak.
It was cute.
We met Steve Aoki.
Steve Aoki's house.
That was good.
Jesus Christ. he's got a trampoline of his face in his house.
I think
This
a
is
lot
like
more celebrity houses are like that.
I was like, this is an inordinate amount of money. It's just extreme.
I've seen a lot of the footballers' houses and stuff,
Yeah.
and they're all like that.
Maybe
so
I've
I
seen
think
less.
a lot of celebrity houses are like that. You just don't see them.
I think the last time I saw houses like that would have been like what, MTV Cribs?
Yeah, but it looked a bit like that.
I felt like we were on MTV Cribs at Steve Aoki's because we were going around to the different rooms.
Yeah, he had a huge
But
studio.
you just really
but
like him. And he said he was a genius.
He said he was a genius, yeah. He had a huge studio that he was like, oh, next time you're in LA, you can come work here if you want to. But then I think the best bit was when he met the Japanese pianist, wasn't it? Ryuichi Sakamoto, which obviously we just found out that he'd passed away a couple of weeks earlier, unfortunately. But yeah, when he met to meet him, he was very starstruck and very shy. He was like, oh, and I like to make musicians here and there, but as you can see, I am a bit shy, so I don't know what
it was
to say
definitely a different vibe.
Yeah, they talked through translators mostly about their music that Yoongi's listened to since he was a child, and he talks about how he went to the cinema with his parents and saw this movie where Sakamoto had written the score, and he was just mesmerized by it. And that was one of the things that sort of inspired him to do music. He'd learned to play one of his songs on piano and played it, I think it's called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. Yeah, and then he played the song Snooze for Ryuichi Sakamoto. Obviously, we know now that he ended up playing piano on the actual song. That was really nice.
Very sweet.
He said it was magical.
There was a really cute bit where the pianist was playing the piano and Yoongi was just sort of stood there, and then the guy was like, oh, come and join me, and Yoongi was like, no, that's ridiculous. No, like, I'll just watch you play. And this guy was like, no, come, like, play for me. And then he sort of sat down and you could just see him just so like happy and alive, and he would have just been so happy just to have watched. But then they were like doing it, and then when they both started playing, it was really magical. It was a really good documentary. It's one of my favorite. No spoilers.
But and then he went on a retreat to the In the Soup house from season 2 with some of his producer songwriter friends. He talked a lot about his writer's block, which he has talked about a lot, like in the interviews around the album as well. And then he performed a couple of the songs like in a kind of like outside factories sort of setup.
Well, did he do that throughout?
Yeah, so he did. I remember him doing People Part 2 with IU. That was when he was sat down. He did Hegum.
He definitely did Amygdala, because that's when I started crying.
Oh, yeah.
Christine was like, are you laughing or crying? And I was just there, because when Christine cries, she gets these really beautiful, like, gentle tears that just roll down her face. When I cry, I shake my whole body and like start spasming. I'm like, it's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful performance. It's such a beautiful documentary.
Yeah.
And Amygdala was quite near the end, so it was like the culmination of the documentary coming together around this, like what he'd produced. And we saw with Amygdala, there was a lot of, he struggled with it. He started writing it during In the Soup.
Yeah.
And then couldn't finish it. We knew that from Ash Shweta.
Yeah.
He knew we wanted to.
He struggled with verse 2, he said.
Had this beautiful concept that was like fully formed.
Because I think it was In the Soup season 1, they read the book Almond, which I've also read, which is by Won Pyun-sok, I think his name is, a Korean author, but that is about a boy who's got underdeveloped amygdala. In the book, his mom makes him eat almonds because they're shaped like amygdala, because she thinks that that's how like
he's gonna get it fixed.
They're gonna grow. I think it's like a superstition thing more than like she thinks that's actually the solution. But still, yeah, when you can see him in the music video with the almonds in his hand, so I would presume that's how he got the idea, especially because he started writing it around that time. But yeah, hadn't finished it until this autumn time. So
to be carrying that around, you see those shots of him sitting down in the normal studio, the Genius Lab.
The Genius Lab.
And sitting down in the Genius Lab to do it, and then being like, I hate this, I quit. And
he said he quits music several times every day when he's writing stuff. So. But then he really loves creating music. He talked about how like it's the most fun thing he does when it's going well.
Yeah, brilliant. What did you think of Road to D-Day?
Have you watched it?
No, I've not watched it because I like to have someone to watch it with.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
I've got no one to watch it with. I'm in the process of making friends.
You should have said we could watch it again here. Christine would have watched it with you.
Yeah.
I would have watched it again.
Next time you're here, we can watch it with you if you haven't found anyone. And yeah, now the album is out, so I think this is normally when we stop going through each thing that he's done piece by piece. But in terms of sort of highlights that came out after this, he did another little promo clip with Disney Plus where he talked about his recommendations on Disney Plus. He recommended the movie Soul because he likes the character.
That is a good movie.
Sad. I haven't seen it, actually.
Oh, you shouldn't. You'll cry the whole way through.
I will watch it because he recommended it, obviously.
There's a Korean woman in it. Like, oh, that's cool.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. He said he relates to the character because he is trying to find new dreams and a new purpose in life. And he related to him playing piano, he said. And then he liked Coco. He said the character faces a new world while still playing guitar. And then he said all the members watched it on a flight once, and then one of them was crying. So he was like, why are you crying? And he was like, oh, I'm watching Coco. And then he was like, oh, I'll watch Coco too.
Aww.
And then they all ended up watching it.
Did we find out who was crying?
No, they didn't say.
Do we want to guess?
I don't know. My money's on Sarah for Jimin.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Hobie. Hobie's cried at Coco. Yeah. I cried at Coco, but because I was high stress. I also, maybe it was the same flight, I also watched Coco on a plane and cried.
Nice. And then he recommended Life of Pi.
Not seen it.
Not seen either. And he related to the growth of the character through unexpected events.
You seen it?
Yeah, but it's probably one of them where when I watched it, I didn't really understand it. So maybe you two intelligent people who actually knew like what he was going for and being like, but to me it was just like, what's happening? Like, well, I think it probably was meaningful, I guess.
Why is there a tiger?
Yeah,
I don't know. I've not seen it.
No.
What was the last one?
Yeah, the last one he said he talked about how he mainly watches documentaries. So normally he searches on YouTube to see like the trailers of the documentaries, and then if it looks interesting, he'll like watch them on Disney Plus. So he said the one he liked was Olivia Rodrigo Driving Home to You.
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah, that one is a good one. From what you've described, it's kind of like this one where it's like her being filmed throughout the making of her producing this album, the whatever it was called.
Sour.
Yeah.
Sour.
It'll show you like her working on the song and then her in like the desert performing the song and do a big. It's good.
Nice. Okay. Beyond that, they did loads of interviews, which I'll link, and people wrote reviews. They were positive. He got 5 out of 5 stars from Enemy. There were loads of others. Then there was a Road to Army video where he was practicing like the stuff that he needed before he could meet his fans again. So he was writing his autograph, doing the like sorry I'm cute challenge for video calls, and then imaginary Jimin was there in the background being like, no, you're not doing it right. Is that all you're gonna do? Like again. So that was cute. And then the Amygdala music video was released on the 24th.
And I think I might have watched it more than you have.
I've only watched it once.
I have watched it. Oh, I watched it like 5 times on repeat. I had my absolute dark trauma baby. I was like, oh, this is so scary. Oh, that was really awful. Oh, I'm going to watch that again.
I watched it once on my phone at work in the toilet, and then I was shaken up for the rest of the day, and then I couldn't watch it again. I've written trigger warning in the script just in case we want to talk about what happens. But I think maybe because you watched it more times than me, maybe you could.
Yeah, I can talk about it. So ultimately the Amygdala music video sort of traces Yoongi's accident. So it looks at his core trauma, which is sort of coming from this accident he had when he was a delivery driver, and then all of the fear and pain that came with that. Though in Amygdala there's also references to his dad's cancer.
Yeah.
And
his mom had to have surgery in relation to him being born, I believe. And then he sort of said that within Amygdala, he was trying to sort of reach the trauma that was even within like his conscious, because obviously he was a baby then at the time.
But the MV mainly focuses on this car accident. So there's different shots of Yoongi in sort of a white room. Has he cut his hair by now?
Yeah, so
he's cut his hair the entirety of Amygdala.
No, I think so. In the scenes where he's in the like room sitting on the couch and then crawling on the floor, he's got the long hair.
Yeah.
Whereas in the scenes where he's on the motorbike, he's got short hair because it's meant to look like a flashback.
So you see him in the room and then he's having these memories, flashbacks. There are some sort of graphic scenes with pearls when you get these flashes into different parts of trauma, and he's trying to get to a door.
Yeah.
And then you've got other Yoongi trying to get to him from the other side of the door, and they're both trying to like get to each other and help them. And then the sort of really graphic bit is where you get the origins of the Daejita scar, which turns out is not from a fight, is self-inflicted. So it's a self-harm scar where he takes a sort of slicer, not even a knife, like a box cutter, and draws it down his eye. And then you get the sort of shots of it where it's like raw, and it's about how those scars are self-inflicted. And then in the amygdala Daejita Hegum trilogy, you realise that the scar fades over time. And then the concepts around, even though you've got those traumas and they'll get easier and you'll be able to live with them, you'll still always have them. You can't get rid of them. They're never going to leave. And in the end, he doesn't get to himself.
No. What it sort of suggests to me is that this also came up in the English film, but he sees this accident as sort of like a springboard for this angry, trauma-ridden personality, like side of himself, which he sort of named Auguste. But yeah, there was a really good thread on Twitter where they talked about sort of how it was related. They sort of said that when we see him in the dark room on the couch, and then next in the streets of Seoul on the motorcycle, and then when the motorcycle Yoongi gets hit by the car, the Yoongi in the room flinches and the blade sort of appears.
So they're connecting, they're living the memory to the trauma that's playing out in the room.
Yeah. And then he tries to sort of hold his hand back.
Yeah, he does. He tries to fight it.
From cutting his own face. And then the rapid fire succession of difficult memories sort of represented by the fleeting images in the MV as he sort of starts thinking about how he wants his amygdala to help him, like, and I think that's probably why he's related it to these past traumas, is because he said that when something traumatic like that happens to you, your amygdala sort of stores the response. Like if you end up in a similar situation, you may sort of overreact and like,
well, even if it's not a similar situation,
a triggering situation,
you will automatically go back to that traumatic event, and your body and your brain will react in a way to save you from that trauma, where it floods you with emotions and adrenaline and anxiety. But the reality is that you're probably not in as harmful a situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But your body doesn't know that, your mind doesn't know that. The response that your body's giving you is far beyond what you actually need in that moment, and then you have to fight against those. So even though the amygdala is designed to be this really, it's probably one of the most powerful parts of the brain, it can be too powerful in a modern society. It's for running away from bears.
Yeah, like
the fight or flight.
Help you survive, but
the survival part.
Yeah. So obviously he's talked about this accident a lot in the sort of previous content that they've put out. I don't know where I was reading this, but he talked about how it was because he was trying to make an income whilst being a trainee in Seoul. So he was had this delivery job that he would do before he went to school, and then go be a trainee all night. So obviously
you're meant to work when you're a trainee.
Overworked. Yeah, he didn't tell the company that he was doing it, but I think the problem was that they couldn't afford his housing. So, and obviously his family didn't have any money, didn't believe in him going off to be a musician anyway, really. So he had to sort of fund that on his own.
Poor Yoongi.
Yeah. So in the MV, the memory sort of serves as a turning point, according to this person on Twitter, which goes by the name of @PourSomeSugar on Twitter. Thank you for this thread. He sort of keeps seeing this memory. It sort of breaks something within him. It creates this emotional scar. So that in this character of Auguste that he creates, obviously is sort of pictured as an actual scar. And then through that trauma, the Mad King is born, is what this person suggested. So the Daejita King is sort of ruthlessly ambitious and angry, but he's also a conqueror. So he is an important part in sort of his inspiration and also his like hunger towards success. So whilst the trauma is causing negative repercussions, obviously it's also becoming a source of inspiration. in Daechta, the commoner represents Yoongi's attempt to take back control over the fury and the ego that's consumed him, which is what he talks about a lot in the first mixtape as well. We obviously think that the king is dead, but then in Hegum, the persona that Yoongi's trauma has created hasn't in fact been killed, so he's back as this cop, and then he's telling us sort of through this recurring character that the journey to defeating his trauma is sort of a recurrent one. He said on Archvita, he said that he goes through these sort of phases of being these like depressive spells every 2-3 years. It's cyclical. It comes up again,
but it fades. And it doesn't fade. You get better at adapting to it. You get better at recognizing the patterns and the triggers and the mechanisms needed to support it and get through, which is how the scar fades.
And then she ends by talking about the way that the cop smirks just before he's shot is the same smirk you see at the end in Amygdala, because you know that it's not going to be the end.
I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
What Amygdala did that brought me close to Yoongi, gave me greater appreciation for Yoongi, was I think Amygdala sort of sits as a comparison to RM's three English songs about this potential breakup that we're not sure about and this whole trauma that RM sort of wrote about, but then was like, yeah, but that's the thing that I wrote about because I needed to write about it, but I'm not gonna go into detail about it. This is for me. Whereas Yoongi's taken this sort of thing that's really dark and personal that he did not have to lay on the line. Like, he could have written a song about it to process and bring him comfort and help, but he didn't. He then went beyond that and was like, I'm going to lay this on the line, all these parts of what this means and what it means for me and what my struggle is for the rest of the world to comment on. There was so much rawness in that that I think we get some rawness out of BTS and we get these messages laid on, but never in the way that we have with Amygdala. No. I don't think there's anything else that is as personal. It's ultimately like being like, here's a song that I wrote about me in therapy. I'm writing a music video about the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah. And I'm going to share it with all these fans so that they can discuss trauma openly, or at least be comforted by the fact that I've struggled and they'll struggle and struggle is normal.
Yeah, exactly. It's and I think it's,
and he didn't have to.
I don't know, you might not be aware of this, but all of August D's discography is quite raw in that sense. So he has actually talked about this before. There's the song The Last, which was the last one that he did on the tour.
Yeah.
He talks about how, he was depressive and sort of didn't feel at one with himself, and his parents couldn't understand him, but then his parents took him to a mental hospital and he spoke to the doctor and he said, like, I don't understand myself, my parents don't understand me. And then the doctor says, have you ever, and then there's like a big bleep, and then he goes, I answered immediately yes. So obviously you could read into that what you will, and I don't think it's really what we're here to do, to be like, it's definitely about this, but by this video obviously you've had a suggestion of something.
And it's such a delicate topic.
Yeah.
So much stigma and so much pain and so much reason not to do it. So then to do it and to not do it in a...
He's not holding back.
Well, yeah, not to do it in a surface way, not to be like, dark thoughts are hard, trauma's hard, to be like, this is my trauma, this is what I've gone through, and this is my experience, and this is how I've coped.
Yeah.
The level of detail that he's offering there is just beautiful, which is why I was drawn into this video. I was just like, shit, this is like the most inspiring thing that an artist can do, to like take these topics that are just completely taboo and just tear them out and lay them out on the ground, because there's 1 in 3 people are going to suffer with mental health at any point in their life. Like, I was absolutely blown away.
Yeah. And I think
amazing.
What sort of struck me about it was, I don't think there was enough talk about it.
Well, then the tour started.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you know how every newspaper article wrote about like, oh yeah, Augusti's got to do a new album, he's got a tour, but no one was like, holy shit, he's put this.
Well, but that's because no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about it.
But it's there.
It's there, and the people that need it and need to be seen for that as a value basis will be seen by that.
I think so too, if they can find the content, which
hopefully people armies and the concept of the 100 million fans, if you think about a third of them having struggled, maybe even more because of the whole BTS finds you when you need them. Just brilliant.
Yeah. It's not a depressive song really, because he does sort of talk about how it gets better and he turns it around. I think what's sort of suggested by the trilogy of music videos as well is that, and also is what he said to RM on Arch Fatah, was that he's sort of working to get better at dealing with it. So whenever it does come up, those like 2-3 year cycles that he mentioned, he said to RM that the last time he'd sort of gone through it, he'd not let it control him, whereas the first few times he'd sort of really gone into himself and been really difficult to talk to. And RM said, I felt like the more I talked to you about it, the worse it got.
There's no way of knowing how to help.
No, exactly.
I think with the concept of amygdala as well, it really feeds into this thriving v surviving model, which is those experiences that you have that are potentially harmful make you into a better person.
Yeah.
It will trigger you and it will be problematic, but it will create empathy and resilience and creativity and tenderness and passion and ambition. It'll create all of these things for you.
Yeah, and for an artist as well, I think he wouldn't have written these albums if
if he not had it. So that's I think that's the concept of amygdala. It's dark and scary, but it's still a triumphant song.
Yeah,
it's not still I've got this. Yeah, I've got this trauma. I've got control over this, and this makes me who I am, and that is really, really beautiful.
Yeah,
and everyone's got one of those. So whatever you're storing in there is worth having.
What's interesting is that both in the song that I mentioned, where he talks about the mental hospital, and in this song, he sort of does turn it around at the end. He says like, you don't need to worry about me. Like, look at how I'm thriving. And then in Amygdala, he's talking about what didn't kill me made me stronger, and I begin to bloom like a lotus flower again, which obviously is like more flowery language, but sort of saying the same sort of thing. So I think if you were in the situation where you were struggling with depressive thoughts or whatever it was,
trauma,
then I would hope that these songs not being like doom and gloom, life sucks and then you die sort of thing, that they have that sort of optimistic twist will help you sort of think that actually it does get better. And I can,
Tasha, what are your thoughts on Amygdala MV?
I quite like it. It is a bit dark, but it tells a story. It's still got a strong message. So, I like it.
It's great.
It is.
It's great.
I think after that, we got to hear that he was going to appear on Jimmy Fallon. First I guess he did his D-Day live, which we're not going to go through because I want to watch it before we do the proper whole album. I did watch it at Heathrow, the airport, whilst I was getting on my flight to New York, so that was nice. There was also Spotify released some content around this time. They had like something that they called the hero film, where he was getting ready for the show, but also sort of watching from the audience. And he was talking about the definitions of time and defining himself by a name or by others, and the era of so many opinions and so much information. And could we ever be free? Which I think is what he's getting at in a few of these songs, like Haggam and Polar Night, I'd say. And it had a really surrealist vibe. I'd say it's worth checking out if you're on that sort of beat. And there was a clip of him decorating a glass board for ARMY. He said some of his favorite lyrics are, if you can't hold back, it's okay to cry. You're already more than enough to be loved. From People Part 2, he thinks we're living in a very harsh world, so there's a lot to cry about. And we all feel pressure to stay strong, but he wants us to be able to pour our hearts out freely. Yeah. That's what he said.
Yoongi.
Yeah. And then was like, as August D, I'll pick a playlist, and as Sugar, I'll pick a playlist. So, and August D picked most like hip hop songs, and Sugar picked most like pop songs. He picked Flower by Miley Cyrus. He said he listens to that in his car.
I buy myself flowers.
Yeah, that one. And
as if he listens to that in his car.
He said he did. He was like, I have listened to it many times in my car. Yeah, he picked mostly like
he can buy himself flowers.
Radio songs. I think Augusty picked Haggam and Sugar picked People Part 2, so he's consistent in that.
That's it. You're an Augusty girl and I'm a Sugar girl.
Yeah,
it works.
It does. And then he had a interview with Apple Music, which I couldn't find the whole thing because I'm not on Apple Music. Because they asked him what his favorite memory was with Holly, and he said when I went to Jeju Island with Holly and let her play at a field. Yeah,
Holly, and Holly.
And then he said, "What's your favorite or most memorable nickname from Army?" And he answered something different than in the previous interview, because he said, "It's not really a nickname, but many people say Yoongi marry me, and I can see that everywhere, so that's very memorable."
Did you say he liked it?
He said it was memorable. He didn't say he hated it. Because I think if he hated it, then he probably wouldn't have said it. I don't know. They also asked him what his most useless talent is, and he said he could lie down for a long time.
Same.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Then we got the most heartwarming content ever I've written.
Oh.
BTS Genius on Genius. You know how Rolling Stones do musicians on musicians?
Genius on Genius. That's what it should be called.
Yeah. AKA Arch Fatah with Agasti as the guest. Yeah.
Aaron was a brilliant host.
He was really good.
And they put out the little clip of Aaron dancing, and they changed the sign for him.
I know. Yeah, they got him.
That was the happiest I've seen Aaron in like a long time.
Oh, he was really happy actually.
Really?
It was very sweet.
Jesus Christ.
I cried loads.
I cried loads. And Aaron really wanted to talk about the past, and Yoongi was like, "No, we're going to talk about the present." And Aaron was like, "Oh, come on, like, let's just reminisce."
RM kept telling him he was being sentimental again, because he was like, "Oh, I want to go back to the days when we were trainees." And RM was like, "Yeah, you know, when we used to go to the ciphers at Han River, that was great." I mean, they were like, yeah. So they were both talking about the past, but right at the start, he was like, "Let's not talk about the past." And RM was like, "Yeah, great." And then all they did was really talk about the past.
But I liked that Yoongi was trying to keep him in the present.
Yeah.
Rather than always getting in our feels, RM.
Well, they definitely got in their feels later on. He told RM that D-Day means the day when we end the past, fittingly, had a rough time and things were so complicated. It's an end, but also a start to a new beginning. He said that in his sort of 3 nicknames, produced by Suga has an external focus. So he's focusing on the artist that he's working with and like the public reception of the song, because that's his job. Whereas Suga of BTS focuses on the team and then on doing sort of his part in the team. And Agasti focuses on wanting to be able to say everything he couldn't say.
As Suga of BTS.
Suga, yeah. So
brilliant.
Without filtering, yeah. He talked a lot about how he had writer's block writing the album. He'd gone back to in the soup house, he'd gone to the mountains, and he said, like, I don't get to come back until I finished. And then he wrote loads of stuff, and then he hated it. And then he checked himself into a hospital to recover, got some like IV treatments. Apparently he wasn't sick, he was a bit like tired, drained. And then he took the decision to delay the album and sort of give himself a bit more time. So I don't know if his was maybe meant to come out before Jimin's.
Before Jimin's, maybe.
Maybe. Talked about how he always knew Yoongi would be the first one to solo tour.
RM said he was really grateful that Yoongi solo toured.
Yeah.
It was such a sweet moment, because RM was like, I was really worried about BTS Chapter 2 and about losing all armies or not being able to give armies what they need, not being able to give them those memories and those moments. And I knew I couldn't do it, but then you just said that you'd do it, and that just lifted so much weight off my shoulder. And then Yoongi said, "You've carried so much weight and responsibility for so long. It's about time that I did this." And I was just like, just sobbing. Yeah. Just sobbing, just tears streaming down. I was like, oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, I like that part too. I've written it. But before that, he said that he was really ambitious and he knew that he'd be the first one to solo tour. They both talked about how they find it hard not to like push themselves too hard and how they're sort of happiest when they're super busy. But he was like, Yoongi's like the most ambitious. He's got this cute name, he said, but like he's a scary guy. And then he said about the documentary, he thought traveling had been important for him to clear his mind, but next time he wants to travel with the members.
Yeah.
And he said, well, like if we can work, then great, but if not, we'll just like play around and have fun, and that'll be great. They talked a little bit about the tour, and then he thought the schedule of 3 shows per week was crazy.
It was aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh, damn.
There was a real sense that the intellect of their relationship really came out in this Ashwata, right? Like, it was really respectful, really easy, but also this ongoing appreciation of, like, shit, we've done a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you've been there with me.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that...
Yeah, they talked a little bit about the tour. He was like, I haven't been able to do stages like this before because we've always had, like, an idol tour. He talked a bit about how he'd come in and out for the stages and how he'd been a bit inspired about when they went to see Harry Styles.
Well, he did a banging entrance and exit. Did Yoongi? Never seen anything like it.
No, me neither. For those who haven't been to the tour yet, and spoiler alert if you're going and you don't want to be spoiled, but yeah, he gets like carried in and carried off by the dancers. They also talked about how they continue to be motivated by the fans saying that BTS have helped them through dark times, or that they've sort of met them at the right time in their life, or that they've lived their life through BTS's music. RM asked him his like normal 2 questions, which is if you could go back to any time, like time travel, any day, future or past, which one would you go back to? And Suga said he wanted to go back to being an 18-year-old trainee, and like, even though it was really hard, even though we worked really hard, we didn't have anything, I just want to like taste the flavor of that time again, is what he said. And then Yoongi said about his dream for the 7 of them. That's the other question. He asks, what's your dream? It can be like big or small, whatever. And he said his dream is for the 7 of them to be together until they die, because he's at ease around the members and he hopes the 7 of them can stay together for a long time. But yeah, have you watched it?
No, I have not watched it.
Have you watched any Shushwata?
No.
Oh, well, you're missing out because it's brilliant.
Yeah. The last thing I've written down is that on the first he appeared on Jimmy Fallon. So there was an imposter challenge where they like ate different things.
The salt and the sugar.
Yeah. So for anyone who's not seen it, it's like they give them 2 things that look the same, and then one of them's got salt, for example, one of them's got sugar, and they have to like try and pretend that they've got whichever one the other one didn't get, essentially. And then the audience guess who they think got the salt, who they think got the sugar. There was one bit where he refused to eat the salt. That was funny.
Because he'd already licked it.
Yeah, because Jimmy Fallon took like a whole mouthful of sugar, and then he just sort of stuck his tongue in the salt, and Jimmy was like, do you have to eat it? And he was like, no, obviously not.
Why would I eat that?
Yeah. And then there was one with water and vinegar, and I can't remember the last one. But
it was the super hot wings.
Oh, yeah.
But Jimmy Fallon had been like, he can't have that, he's got to sing tonight. So then the host was like, yeah, Jimmy, we know. And then Jimmy Fallon sort of looked and was like, oh, shit. I've got to eat this super hot wing.
Yeah, that was funny. He talked about how his nickname is DT Sugar backwards, so D-Town Sugar. But he said...
Because he's a D-boy.
Yeah, D-boy from Daegu. But he said that DT does not stand for drive-through. That was one of the things that he said in English. And then Jimmy asked him whether he was the best basketball player at BTS, and he was like, I don't think the other members even know the rules of basketball.
There was a really cute moment where they were talking about the NBA ambassador, and he was like, I don't know why they didn't me to be the ambassador. The NBA are more famous than me. Yeah. And then the crowd started chanting, and then Fallon was like, obviously not.
Yeah.
That was really sweet.
There's also like, when he first came on, I think the first thing he did was the imposter challenge. So he first came on and everyone was like going crazy, like Yoongi. And then he kind of just pushed his hands down, like,
well, because Jimmy kept trying to talk, right? Armies were just like, me and Yoongi, and Jimmy tried like 3 times, and Yoongi just pushed his hands down, and then that was it, just silence. Yeah. And then even then Fallon sort of looked at him like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He did that on the concert as well, like a few times when he was trying to speak and people were like too busy shouting, and then he just put his little finger up to his mouth and everyone would go like, okay, he wants us to be quiet now. That's what he wants. And then he performed Hegum, which
didn't do the dance part.
Didn't do the dance, but there were lasers and stuff. Jimmy was going mad for it. And then, yeah, the last bit of content that I've linked is the Amygdala MV shooting sketch where J-Hope visits him. So that's cute. Yeah,
we watched that. We liked it.
You sort of see how he filmed some of the more explicit scenes.
There's a couple of times where he's like, I've got to go get wet now.
Yeah.
End of day one, oh, it's going to be raining now, so I'm going to be wet. And then he's like, oh, it's so cold. And then the same thing happens the next day.
Yeah.
And then Hobie comes and brings him snacks.
So the day 2 is when he's cut his hair, and he was like, oh my God, you've cut your hair. You look so much better. And I'm like, Jeff, no, that's not true.
And is it in the sketch when they talk about when Yoongi said there'd be no one else to feature on it, he wanted someone to feature? Hobie did a brilliant job. Or was that earlier?
Yeah,
in an early interview.
Because he said he wanted to feature him because RM had featured on the previous album. That's what I heard him say that anyway. He was like, oh yeah, you know, I have that song with RM, so I thought now I should do a song with J-Hope.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah, no, I think overall all the content's been good, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to split it up there. So part 1, thanks for listening to that one. And come back for part 2 where we talk about our experience on the tour.
and give you our initial favourites from the album.
And the scoring.
And
Is
the
it a
score.
2.5 from Natasha?
No.
Probably.
No. I'm nervous already. Okay, yeah, let's come back for the next episode. And I've been Christine.
I've been Leanne.
And I've been Natasha, and we have been
Generation BTS. Woo! D-Day, 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 D-Day.